aboard, everybody. This is Heading Back to the Window with Scott and Scott, and we're doing our third in our series of MLB breakdowns. We're going to take a look at the NL West and the AL West. The one, the only Tim Earle. Fuck the Sklar brothers. Those guys are nothing. They're 100 years old. Here's the new face right here, guys. It's Tim Earle. It's Nick Earle. It's ESB. Make sure you check them out. You can also check them out on the Max Wagers Network. Doing a little show with Detroit Lenny every day at 5 p.m. Game Time Decision. He's a great baseball guy. Huge fan of country music and Duke. Do I have that right, bud?
Oh God, no.
I was doing so well, and then
you were doing so well until those last two, and then it's like gone.
It's Tim Earle, big North Carolina fan and lover of, I'm assuming, rock and roll since it's not country.
90s, yeah, 90s, okay. All that good stuff. Yep.
All right, yeah, you can hang with us. Scott likes the heavier stuff in the 90s. I'm more of a tonic live kind of guy, so yeah, we'll be fine. So, but first and foremost, what people actually care about tuning into this show, you're a baseball guy, man. You love college baseball. You love the MLB. We've been trying to get you on. We are happy to have you for our last day in the series. And I don't want to leave my co-host out of the mix. What's up, buddy? You ready for baseball, Scotty?
Yeah, looking forward to it. This is going to be the last of our actual division breakdown videos. If you have not checked out the first two, check out those. But looking forward to going through the NL West and the AL West. Should be fun. Those divisions, well, one of them had a surprise winner last year. We'll talk about if maybe both of them will have a surprise winner or not. We'll see.
There's a guy got to blow to win a division championship around here. 107 games. Fuck you. You're not going anywhere. Enjoy your one-game playoff. So yeah, hopefully, I think it might go a little differently this year. We shall see. Hell, guys, let's jump right in. Before we do that, I want to remind you that we are on the Max Wagers Network. Great lineup of shows every single day at noon Eastern time. It is the one and the only Sean Higgs with Midday Money, followed by Allie Burns with Morning Wood. Allie's got Morning Wood over there at 1 p.m. It's going to be just Parlays at 2. Chris King, Jim Williams, yours truly, Scott and Scott, with Back to the Window every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by these guys, Tim and Nick and Lenny at 5 p.m., taking a look at all the games of the night, injuries, line changes, things like that on Game Time Decision. So check out all those shows. But in the meanwhile, check out this one right here. Let's get started with the American League West. Of course, the American League West is it's the Astros to lose, as they are the prohibitive favorite. Minus 170 is their odds. 91.5 is the win total. Scott, Tim, you're the visitors today. What do you think of this Astros team? They're just going to walk through that victory?
No. I'll be the first one. I'm not going to be high on the Astros this year. I'll take the contrarian look, and I've already got the under 91.5. I don't even think they're going to win the division. I have a little bit of a different view on it. Astros did lose a couple of their players over the offseason. Didn't really make any big moves. Kind of a downgrade for them over the offseason. And one of their division rivals that we'll touch on a little bit later made some upgrades that I like a lot. And I just think this is going to be an off year for the Astros. Under 91.5 is where I'm going to go for this one.
Well, it was definitely good news and bad news for the Astros. They brought back 8 of their 9 everyday players. The one they lost, Carlos Correa, it's kind of a, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play situation? Scott, what do you think? Have you got the Astros here? You laying that big price, or are you going to take a little spin on one of the other more friendly favorites?
Well, when it comes to the division futures, I agree. I'm not taking Houston laying that price. The win total's tricky because they have been on pace for 95 wins in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Of course, they lost Greinke, Bud Verlander's supposed to be back, so the rotation should be pretty good. Correa was the main piece, though, because he was also the leader in the locker room, which is definitely going to hurt. I had a really hard time with this one because they are the class of the division every year, and yet this number does seem a little bit high. I'm going to hold my nose and take the under as well, just because Houston, at what point do you think Dusty Baker wears out his welcome a little bit? Because it's happened at pretty much every spot that he's been in. And now you're a couple of years in. You've had a couple of disappointing playoff losses there. Now your team is a little bit weaker on a day-to-day basis. I am kind of wondering if Houston's going to take a step back. Verlander, we're not even sure is going to be the same guy after the serious injury that he had, so I'm not really sure how many eggs you can put in that basket. But for me, I'm going to go with a slight under. I think they'll finish with 89. I think they'll make the wild card, but 91.5 is a lot for a team that does have a decent amount of questions.
Tim, let me ask you: are you low on the Astros because of who they lost, the pitching staff, or just the fact that other teams in the division have gotten better?
I think that the Astros have gotten worse when other teams have gotten better, and the skill level in the AL West is just going to be a little bit stronger this year, to the point where they're not going to be able to roll over certain teams like they have been in the past couple of years. They're going to have a little bit more difficult time with some division rivals, and I just think that their win total is just a tad too high. I know they've won the division the past couple of years. I think this is their stepping back time.
Okay. For the record, by the way, to actually look at the breakdown here, the Astros last year won 95 games. They went 49-27 against the division. So they basically just pick up on the awful teams there. Mm-hmm. A little bit fewer and further between. We'll get into one that I think is going to be atrocious this year, which I'm sure we'll agree on. But for the most part, the teams around the Astros have gotten better. So even if Houston ends up with 40 wins against the division, which seems kind of reasonable there, then that means they're going to win in the mid to slightly high 80s. I see that being more attainable. Once again, I got them around 88, 89, wildcard spot, something like that.
All right. Second betting favorite, according to the books, is the Los Angeles Angels plus 3.
Wait, what about you? You got the over, the under?
I think there's going to be I think there's too much competition. I have to be with you guys and take the under. I don't necessarily agree with him being overtaken for the division, but I have no interest in laying 170. So
yeah,
I'm going to take a spin. I'll probably take a spin on the same team that Tim has. I'm still not high on this Angels pitching staff yet. So that's going to be the West for me. I still think Houston probably does it, but I don't think the percentages would indicate that kind of lay at 170. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it. Angels plus 375 to win the division. 83.5 is the Angels win total. This is a team that hasn't had a winning record since 2015. They made the playoffs just once. I believe they were I'm trying to think what happened there. Oh, they were swept by the Royals in 2014. That's right. They haven't even really been competitive. They finished fourth, I think, 5 times. So they went out and spent some money. But what about this pitching staff, Tim? You've got Shohei, and he's going to make, I don't know what, 30. He's going to make 27, 28 starts tops. And after that, you've got Syndergaard. We haven't seen him pitch in meaningful games, Scott, since 2019?
Well, define meaningful for the Mets, because they faced you in the World Series. Does that count?
Very good.
I don't want to talk about that one. That's PTSD in the back.
I'm saying meaningful games for Syndergaard is.
I'm a Mets guy. Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that. Oh, I feel so bad.
I wasn't even trying to take a jab. I'm just saying Syndergaard, when you talk about high leverage spots, he hasn't been in many for the last couple of years.
I believe he pitched in the 2016 wild card game versus San Fran.
The one with the Gillespie threw in home run.
Yeah.
Well, he was great in that game. That's right. Then Familia came in and he punted it. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, typical Familia. Yep.
My bad. Forgot about that.
So here's the question. By the way, what's up, Joe Kryptonite? Yo to you too as well. What do we get out of Syndergaard this year, Tim? Do we get 31, 32 starts out of him, or is he gonna break down at some point? We're gonna get 14, 15.
I don't know. We haven't really seen him pitch a complete season in a little while. I would hope for his sake, because he was great on the Mets. So I have no shame towards him, no hate towards him. I think he'll have a good year. The big thing is, what are we going to get the same season from Shohei that we got last year? And the answer is no. What he did last year was incredible, and the fact that they did what they did last year, even with him playing as good as he did, is awful. That they didn't do any better. Trout did get injured earlier in that year and last year, so kind of they'll have him back this year, so that's at least a positive. The rotations is slightly better, but I still think that this Angels team is going to be a big overs team in terms of runs. They're going to allow them. They're going to hit them. So probably look towards that with them. But as for the win total, what they got? 83 and a half.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much spot on. I think they'll end up finishing third in the division. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see if Trout can stay healthy. We'll see if Shohei. I mean, he did a lot last year. Is he going to be able to maintain peak health this year as well? So I'm going to say that they're going to stay around that 83. I really don't have a lean towards an over or an under. I think it's pretty much right on.
Scott, is it a hot take if I was to tell you that I think Patrick Sandoval may be the best starter in that rotation?
I don't think it's that hot of a take because you're looking at who they're surrounded by. I think it's a hot take if you include Ohtani and you assume that he's going to end up making about 28 starts because Ohtani was really good. Now, the problem with that is that Ohtani has had some injury issues, especially in his rookie year. Last year, he was mostly healthy. I do agree that last year he had a unicornish season, which I'm not sure he can duplicate. So I kind of wonder if he will fall back down to earth. As for the injuries, Trout barely played last year. He only played in 36 games. Rendon only played in 58 games, so he was barely a factor. Trivia question, though. Do you know how many starts Syndergaard has made in the last 2 seasons combined?
It's got to be like 10 to 15, if that.
I was going to say 8.
2. He's made 2 starts in the last 2 seasons combined.
You know what? That makes sense. And
he didn't play last year, so
that's what I was thinking.
Technically, he did make 1 start last year. I think it was the last weekend he pitched 1 inning.
Okay, well,
so technically he did start, but no, he has not pitched. He didn't pitch all last year, pretty much.
I think that was probably, I don't know if it was the dumbest contract given out during the offseason. Definitely top 3. You gave him $15+ million and he's made 2 starts in the last 2 years combined. I have no idea what the Angels are doing. They seem to always invest in these pitchers with upside. The bright news for the Angels, they don't have Quintana on the team anymore, so the rotation might be a little bit better by subtraction. But I like the under for the Angels. I found 84.5 at -110 on BetMGM. They haven't had a winning season in each of the last 6 years. And yes, I know Trout and Rendon should play more. They're both injury-prone players. It is what it is. Ohtani, I think, will get injured at some point based on the amount of just volume that he has to produce and just actually perform both on the mound and at the dish. And do you like the rest of the rotation? I don't. Do you like the bullpen? Of course not. Right. So it seems like it's the same team every year. You're just hoping injury-prone players stay healthy. And even if they do, it's not like they won many games with Trout anyway, because the pitching has always been terrible. So I like the under. I think they'll probably finish with around 81.
I think every year we hear a lot of hype, and I think one of the reasons we hear it is because LA plays in a gigantic market, and everybody wants this team to be good. They want Orange County wants something to be able to compete with LA, and every year this team gets hyped. We've made these moves. We brought in Pujols. Look how good Trout is. We've got brand new pitchers, and every year we see the same thing. I'm with Scott. I think we've seen this movie before. If you can find 84.5, I definitely like that. Tim, where are you at on this Angel squad?
Under, if anything, I think they get around the 81 to 80 win mark. Okay. I really don't like the Angels all that much. I think they finished 3rd, maybe even 4th in the division.
Okay. I think a lot of it is honestly just team. I'm trying to think of the actual word for it, but it comes down from the ownership, which I don't think is very good. But when you constantly do the same thing over and over again, and it fails every year, and your solution every offseason is to overpay for a risky pitcher and hope it pans out, what are you doing?
I believe they call that the definition of insanity, Scott.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of a specific word for it.
I think the word you're looking for is asshattery.
I was going to say incompetence, but that works too. I mean, they tried to get Bundy. They tried that experiment. Didn't really work out.
Oh, they got him.
They tried Quintana. That didn't work out. But they tried Tehran. You remember when Tehran signed there? And that was a disaster too.
What a money maker. What a moneymaker that was.
Syndergaard could be good, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Syndergaard basket when he's barely pitched for the last 2 years.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So now I know this is the team that probably all of us want to talk about the most. The Seattle Mariners, they have the same win total as the Angels at 83.5, but they have a little longer odds to win the division at plus 450. You and I, we were all talking about this before the show got started. They basically traded Yasiel Kikuchi, which if you're not a Cooch fan, I don't know what's the matter with you, but they basically they sent him to Toronto, or he signed with Toronto. Robbie Ray, who won the Cy Young, of course, for the Blue Jays last year, he ended up signing with Seattle. As much as I loved the Cooch, I think Seattle got a little better deal here. Tim, I know you're high on this Seattle squad. Tell us why.
Yeah, real quick. I saw in the chat, Orioles straight money. They got 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth to win today. Holy crap. Anyways, sorry, I was riding the Orioles and Tigers today, and they both, I saw that in the chat, and I had to check that one. They won 7-6 over the Rays. Anyways, the Seattle Mariners, yes, this is probably the team I'm the highest on this year. They're one of the 4 teams I have a World Series ticket on. It's 28-1. I have their division at 475 or 450 to 1. I have them to win the AL. I have them the over 83.5. I am really high on this Seattle
to win
team
the
this
Utah
year.
primary. He's down on this team.
Yeah, this is one of the teams that I'm high on, to say the least. They've made a lot of improvements, and they were this close to making it last year. And they got almost the same team plus some upgrades. They definitely did really well in the trade deadline or offseason to get certain players. Robbie Ray added on to the staff is going to be fantastic. If Chris Flexen and Logan Gilbert have good years again, this team's going to be dangerous. I think they have a legit shot to win 90 games this year. I think there's a really good team. A lot of people might be sleeping on them. They might be dogs good chunk of their games. And this is one of the main reasons why I think the Astros go under is they play 19 games, and I think the Seattle Mariners can beat them 11 to 12 times. I think it's going to be more of a one-sided affair with the 2 teams, and I'm high on the Mariners this year. This is one of the teams that I really like.
I like some of the bats they have. I think these kids are kind of figuring it out. Kalinick looked like 2 different players last year. He was absolutely nails from about mid-August on. You've got France Lewis, Mitch Haniger. And you talk about the arms. That's a fantastic rotation. I'm not sure about the bullpen, but I think you could pretty much just make a recording of that and say it on about 2/3 of the teams we're going to talk about.
And they also picked up Jesse Winker from the Reds, and that's going to be another big bat that's in the middle of the lineup that I really like.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yep. They've got a kid in Justin Dunn that I think is he's just a strike thrower. You look at him and you're like, he doesn't look like anything special, but then all of a sudden you look up and he hasn't given up any runs. He's given up 3 hits in 6 innings, and the kid can just flat out do it. Scott, are you as high on the Seattle team as Tim and I?
I don't know about insanely high as in World Series ticket, but I like them to be a serious threat to win the division. And I think for those odds, I think that's a great deal. You said it was around plus 475. I feel like they definitely are going to be, worst case scenario, the second best team in this division. So plus 475 for a team that has a shot at it, I definitely like. As for the actual breakdown for the wins, I like the over. We know last year they won 90 despite having a run differential of negative 51. It's the perks of Chaos Ball. But you're looking at the moves they made during the offseason. You mentioned the Robbie Ray acquisition. They got Winker. They got Suarez. They got Adam Frazier. They did lose Seager, who was the leader in the locker room. And Suarez is basically a righty Joey Gallo. I mean, he'll strike out a bunch. He'll hit about 190, but he'll hit you 30-something home runs. But the pitching for the Mariners is underrated. The bullpen with Sewald, et cetera, is pretty good. And I do like the moves they made to the actual lineup. I do think that one X factor for this rotation will actually be a former Yankee prospect, Justin Sheffield, who has kind of struggled so far with his career. He's had some flashes every now and then. He's shown glimpses, but if he can actually piece it together and have even a mediocre season, borderline, I'd say, 10-10 record, then Seattle will be in good shape because he's basically their 4 or 5. But they have some upside on the back end of that rotation, which could work out. I do like the moves, though. I like the manager. I think they're well coached. And I do think this total's too low. So I like the over.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I mean, Sheffield's the 5 in that rotation.
That's what I'm saying, though. But I do think that he might have something there that he has not shown yet.
Yeah, if you get 10-10 out of your 5, I think you're happy.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
4.2 ERA or whatever. He keeps you in games. Maybe gives the bullpen a little bit of a rest. But, yeah, I'm good with that. All right, so let's kind of grip it and rip it here as we go through the rest of the division. The Rangers, 74.5 is their win total. plus 1,600 to win the division. Well, I'll tell you one thing about the Rangers. Nobody spent more money than they did in the offseason. I believe they spent the most money in contracts in one offseason in Major League history. So, Scott is going to make a difference.
It's going to help them not look totally awful, but to be honest, I still like the under. I think it's too high. And I understand that they, of course, got Simeon. They got Seager, the other one. They also got John Gray to help the rotation. Gray on the road, I'm not sure if I'm interested in that because he was actually really good at Coors Field. On the road, not so much. But you want to look at the actual moves that this team made. I understand that they put in money to try to drive in fans and try to make it more appealing for the new ballpark. How many games is Seager actually going to play? Because he's injured all the time. You can go through the actual breakdown season by season. He's missed at least 28 games in 3 of the last 4 seasons. He's missed a lot more than that in 2 of the last 4 seasons.
Right.
Their bullpen is still one of the worst in the league. And if you think Seager is going to get hurt, I don't really know how I'm supposed to like this team. Semien had a career year. Can he duplicate that with 40-something home runs? I doubt it. Maybe.
History says no when you get the free agent deal. Like
I was going to say we'll find out. I think that the Rangers might have just overpaid for a pretty solid infielder, but I like the under.
Well, in fairness, that is kind of their thing.
Yeah, that's kind of their thing, but I don't really like the rest of the rotation. I don't really like the bullpen, and if he can't pitch, that is kind of the Angels all over again, isn't it? So I like the under.
All right, man. It sounds like you're really down on this team. Like I hate their colors. I hate
I'm down on the division.
Between Dallas and fucking Fort Worth, figure it out, guys.
I respect them for trying, but when your issues are pitching and hitting, and you put everything into hitting, then John Gray, don't get me wrong, he's been an okay pitcher. If he's your number 1, are you thrilled? Probably not.
Tim, you going to talk him off the ledge?
Nope. This Texas Rangers team, their offseason made no sense. I thought they were going to rebuild. I guess not. When you go out and spend, $500 million on 3 players?
Accelerated rebuild.
Yeah,
they got a great stocked farm system because they got a shit ton in the trades. But
yeah, but I still think they're 3-4 years out of being able to be relevant at all. And them going and buying 3 pieces makes no difference for me. 74.5. I think the under is a safe play just because they have to go up against the Angels, the Seattle Mariners, and the Houston Astros 19 times this year each, which will definitely beat them down. I don't think this Texas team is going to be good. One thing that we will make money on is betting Texas Ranger overs because they can hit and they cannot pitch. Their bullpen is awful. Their starting pitching is awful. They did nothing besides Gray. No, I'm not a fan of this Rangers team. I don't think they're bottom last in the division, but I don't think that they're an over 74. I don't even think they get close. Probably 70.
This feels like the A-Rod Rangers all over again. I know that there's like 2 good players that you're kind of combining to join into A-Rod, but they didn't really win many games as one of the best players in the league because the rest of the team was awful. And it feels like it's the exact same situation.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that. Yeah, I think the under is the safe play here because they can't. Every game is going to be a struggle with this team. There's going to be no easy wins. There's going to be very, very few, if any, games where the pitching just dominates and the guys can get one of those 3-1, 3-0 victories. I agree with you about the overs. It's not as good as it was at the old field with the weird wind in there, but it's still hot, man, and those balls fly even at night. And just to back up a little bit, we talked about it before, but if you didn't know, Chris Flexen was the most profitable pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
We mentioned that one a lot last year. Yeah, him and Gilbert were both top 5.
Yep. And the Seattle team made a lot of money for us down the stretch, especially. So do keep an eye on those 2 pitchers in Seattle as well. All right, so let's talk about a team that has pretty much said, Vegas, here we come, or so it would appear with what they've done. That's the Oakland Athletics. They are a win total of 70.5 at plus 2,000.
Kind of generous, to be honest.
I think kind of generous. Yeah.
I think both of those numbers are a little bit generous. I'll start off. This is This is an A's team that has decided to, I guess, rebuild. I'm not really sure because they have definitely dumped salary. They have written off any kind of attendance. The team never good in attendance, always in the mid-20s as far as attendance goes out there at OCOM. Horrible place to watch baseball, by the way. Horrible stadium and a horrible place to watch baseball in particular.
They will definitely be bottom 5 in attendance.
Definitely be bottom 5. That's if you can find that bet somewhere. I'd lay up
minus 2,000.
I'd lay up to. Well, I was going to say 175, but yeah, they're. So Bob Melvin's gone. Scott, you called for him to be gone in the first week of the season last year. We're sorry.
They turned it around. I'll give them props there.
But we talked about how much this team has lost. They lost Olsen, Chapman, Chris Bassett's gone. Of course, Simeon was gone the season before. Most of the bullpen is gone. They've lost Canna. They've lost Starling Marte, Jed Lowry, Mitch Moreland. Tim, what are we doing here?
What do they have left? What, Ramon Laureano and
he's
Frankie Montas?
For a month.
Okay. Laureano's suspended, and they have Montas,
Yeah.
which should be traded soon.
And Manaea, who should be traded soon as well.
Manaea's still there.
Technically, they're still there. They're going to be traded. It's just
yeah.
They've still got Elvis Andrus.
Oh God, no. Okay.
So, Jim, are you old
Did you
enough
see
to
him
remember when
last
he was
year?
good?
Andrews was awful last year.
Yeah, he was
Did you watch?
That's what I said. I said, are you old enough to remember when he was good?
They have Tony Kemp,
With Texas
who I
Rangers,
think is okay.
Andrus was good with Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
That's a scary rotation. Manaea, Montas, Cole Irvin, Caprillion, and Jeffries. Jesus Christ.
No, it's not.
For now.
And Lee Trevino coming out of the bullpen. I'm sorry.
No,
no
I don't like this team at all.
No.
And I think that they could be the worst team in the MLB this year. Legit, they could be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, we talked about that being a real possibility.
I think that Baltimore will have more wins than them. I think Pittsburgh will have more wins than them. This is not a good team for Oakland, and they're only going to get worse. So sorry, Oakland fans, but this is going to be an ugly year for you guys. I think they get maybe 60 wins. I really don't think they're going to be good.
JC Stone asked this question the other day. Hey, thanks for bringing it up again, JC. I appreciate it because, of course, I forgot about it. Oakland team season winning streak over 5.5, Tim?
Under.
You don't think
they're not winning 6 in a row? No.
I think they'll get lucky if they win 3. I don't think they're going to be good.
I would like to know statistically how many teams have 6-game winning streaks, how many different teams have 6-game winning streaks, because you can have bad teams. Trust me, I live in Kansas City. I know bad teams. They can still put together winning streaks. So I'd be curious to know what the odds are on that. If that's flat 110 each side, without looking it up, and I really want to do some research. I got a hunch that the over's the play.
I would lean under there. You mentioned Kansas City. At least they have a lineup. They have something that
I'm not
they
talking
can
about
actually.
this year. I'm not talking about this year's Royals. I'm talking about pre-2013 when they were just absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
They would.
I thought you meant
for those teams that were double-digit losing streaks were just an annual occurrence. If we were lucky if we only had one, they would still put together 6-game winning streaks. So
I think they would have to really get hot in order to do that.
Sure.
And their opponents will have to help them.
I want to look at the schedule. I'd want to see how the schedule broke down. If you've got 3 against Texas and 3 against Baltimore,
maybe
something like that. If you've got Pittsburgh mixed in there, some of the teams that they could beat.
I'll run through their schedule to see if there's a spot.
See if you can find a 6-game spot.
See if I can find a 6-game spot that I could legit think that they can. Oh, the Athletics are already up 4-0 on Cincinnati. That sucks.
Yeah, you can't stop them. You can't stop the A's.
All I know is
he says it's minus 110 on DraftKings. He says the under is golden. So
I was just gonna say, all I know is that for the A's, especially when it comes to the vibe the front office is giving out, when you were in the middle of a fire sale, you think the players were thrilled to go into the season?
Oh no, absolutely.
With a brand new manager that has no experience with a bunch of whatever with the 4th lowest payroll in the league.
I guarantee you those little nagging injuries that if you're playing for a contender, you'd go out there and you'd play. You're going to take a couple days off.
Oh no, I expect Laureano when he comes back.
You roll that ankle in June. Yeah, that's 3 days off.
I expect Laureano to come back from the suspension, get injured, and maybe coast off the injury because we've seen him get injured in the past. But I have to like the under because there's nothing to like about this team. The only bright spots right now are the first 2 pitchers and it's a miracle they're still even there because
Yeah.
they're going to be traded.
Yep. And that's the other thing. If they threaten that total, don't forget they're probably going to dump at the trade deadline. Go ahead, Tim. You find a spot?
I will say there's one spot for each half of the year.
Okay.
And one of them is very early, April 18th through the 24th. They get Baltimore and Texas. 4 against Baltimore and 4 against Texas, all of them home.
Okay. Seager should be healthy for that series, though. So I think Texas will win one.
And then second half of the year, there's a series of 6 games where they're at Baltimore and at Washington.
Okay.
That could be a legit shot. Other than that, no.
5-game road winning streak, though, man. That's
difficult.
Yeah, all right.
So I would say beginning of the year, if they don't do it in April, they're not doing it the rest of the year.
I'm gonna go with the under on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take a slight lean on the over. Something happens that's surprising, and they would.
You're hoping the kids come up in like I don't know, July and give some life to the team.
That's certainly possible. All right, so let's recap that division real quick, and then we'll kind of step on the gas here for the NL West. We Tim likes Seattle. Scott, who's your division champ there?
I'm picking Seattle for the plus 475.
Yep, I'm with you. Just for the value. I still think Houston wins the division. I would be a player at 125, 130 maybe, but 170 I have no interest there at all. So for me, until you show me something different, I know there's great stories with a couple of these teams, and they certainly could make the move. Until I see it, I would probably bet I'd bet the favorite. But again, too steep. Give me the Mariners plus 450. And your favorite play as far as win totals. I'll start off. I've got to say, I think this Oakland team has been given way too much respect. I think they lose 90 plus. I've got the under 70.5 there. Tim, what's your favorite play as far as the win totals go in this division?
Either Seattle over or Houston under. One of the two.
Okay.
Either one.
Scotty?
For me, it's either going to be Oakland under or it's going to be the Angels under. Just because the Angels are projected to have a winning record every year, and they haven't had a winning record in 6 seasons. I don't know what people are waiting for. Like, this team is the same team every year, and I also expect Syndergaard to get hurt. No offense to Tim, but he kind of has a history of getting hurt. So we'll see.
You're not offending me. He's on the Angels. I don't care about him anymore.
I'm just saying, though, you have a strong connection just based on his past experiences with the team. If I had to pick my favorite play, though, I would probably go with the A's. 70.5 sounds low, but losing Melvin for a manager with no experience at all to handle this dumpster fire roster with the 4th lowest payroll and a team that's going to be actively selling off Minaya and Montes and Laureano potentially, who's also suspended for a month, it's going to get ugly. And when you think it can't get lower, there's going to be a deeper hole to be found later on. I'm going with the under because this team is actively trying to lose. I think they'll lose a 95.
You smell that? It's a Disney movie. I smell the Disney movie. Here come the A's. It's improbable. It's unbelievable. No, not going to happen.
What is it, Major League 4?
Yeah, Major League 4.
It's really what the roster seems like, where the owner is just trying to actively tank the team to move it to Las Vegas. Yeah, it's really just the same exact plot as the first one.
Well, it's like how much, what's the lowest amount of money they can spend before because you got to save money. Those moving trucks are fucking expensive. You're going to be
walking over in Moneyball. Can you give us a bigger payroll? And he said, bigger payroll. Oh no, I can go lower. And he somehow reduced the payroll, which didn't even seem possible. Yep. But no, they're not going to pay for anybody.
Well, did you see how much Oakland paid for in contracts over the offseason? Zippo, nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Their payroll is what, 40? Like a little north of 40?
They spent $0 on free agency this offseason. Nothing.
Good point. They got worse at every single position group, and the idea is we're going to save money and ship it off to Vegas. So they're not even trying to make it up.
They're not even trying to make it look good.
No, like if it was the NBA, they would be fine for tanking.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's that obvious.
All right, let's go to the West in the National League. Dodgers 97.5 minus 225. This is the team we talked about at the beginning. 107 wins last year, good for second place. Tim, the Dodgers, Scherzer's gone, Seager's gone. Those brothers just can't stay anywhere. What do you think? Do they reload? They retool?
Oh, I mean, they already have.
Hearts? What do they do?
They'll be good again, unfortunately. At 97, I kind of want to take the contrarian approach and go under it again. I know it didn't work out last season, but I feel like 97.5 wins. That's 5 games lower than it was at the beginning of last year. I think last year's win total for them was 102.5.
That's exactly right.
And now it's 97.5. That's telling me under. The fact that, they have made a couple of moves. They brought in Freddie Freeman, which probably was one of the biggest moves of the offseason. But you got to keep in mind, they get 18 games against the Diamondbacks, 18 games against Colorado, 18 games against a Padres team, which we'll get into in a little bit. I think that this Dodgers team is going to win some games. 97.5 just seems like a lot to me. And obviously, I'm not – what are they to win the division? Minus 180, 200, whatever it is. I'm not paying.
Whatever it is, it's too low.
I'm not. I don't – if I'm going to bet a future, I'm not laying minus money to do it.
Can't do it.
So I would take a shot rather on some other teams. But I'm probably just leaving the Dodgers completely alone.
Yeah, that's for me. That's the same thing that I felt about Houston, where, I like the team, they dominate the division, but the price just makes it just too steep. It's too steep to do it. I'm going to whisper something about the Dodgers that people haven't talked about for a long time. I've got questions about this pitching staff. Obviously Urias is good, the only 20-game winner in the majors last year, but while we've got Buehler at the top, what are we going to get out of Kershaw? Because most of last year he looked like he might be close to done.
He was also injured again.
Yeah.
Well, what is that not a factor?
That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to pencil him for what, like 22 starts, maybe, assuming he has a hamstring
generous
issue at some point.
Yeah,
I think that's generous.
Yeah, I think that's top in.
He's going to have a hamstring issue at some point. You know what's going to happen.
So if Kershaw is okay, if he's worthy of a number 2 spot in the rotation, you got Buehler, Kershaw, Urias. That's fine. You guys sold on Heaney and Gonsolin?
Well, you
got
more than Heaney. Yeah, you got to hear me out on one question though. You got to bring it up. Is Bauer coming back?
I think so. I'm not sure when, but I think so.
Because if he shows up, of course, he would be the number 2.
Maybe even number 1.
I think Buehler's 1, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, never mind Buehler. But, yeah, it's strong.
Just saying, because you're mentioning rotation. If Bauer does pitch at any point, let's just say fair, he comes back June.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Do you still have questions about the rotation?
No.
I don't.
I don't have any questions about this team.
But
the only question about this team is, when are they going to choke in the playoffs?
Yeah, but of course that means that they're probably going to win 100 games and make the playoffs. So
yeah,
there you go.
All right, Scott. By the way, I don't think Bauer's going to play for the Dodgers again. That's just a hunch. I think they're going to try to wash their hands and see if they can trade him for whatever they can get, pick up some of the salary, not have to eat all of it. Could be wrong. He could be back. I just think the Dodgers.
Well, everything was dropped, right?
Everything was dropped. Yeah,
correct. But he's still got to face discipline from the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that I got a feeling about the Dodgers ownership, and I think he will play again. I just don't know this for the Dodgers. Scott, what do you got here? 97.5. You interested?
I understand the idea of being afraid to take a high win total over.
Yep.
I love the over.
Yep.
It's actually my best bet for the entire division. Just because when you look at the actual
team,
I know the questions with the rotation. I get it. I'm penciling Bauer to come back in by June or July. So I do think that'll help. Plus, we know the Dodgers will trade for a pitcher if they need one, because they buy the deadline every year. But you look at the lineup, this is one of the best lineups I've seen in my lifetime. It's just a no weakness lineup. I guess the weakness is Bellinger, who's been pretty awful for the last year and change, but he was good in the playoffs, so maybe he can carry that over. I know he's been brutal in spring training, though. But Trey Turner, you got both Turners. You got Taylor, Freddie Freeman, you got Muncy, you got Betts, who was injured for a decent portion of last year. The lineup's nuts. The bullpen, I know they lost Jansen. They got Daniel Hudson. They got Trinan, who's been a closer before. Gratterall as well. So the bullpen doesn't bother me. But I really like this team. I'm not going to be Dave Robertson guarantee a World Series championship, but I think they should win 100 games. And if you're talking about the fact that they won 106 last year, I'm not expecting them to win 9 fewer. Give me 103, another division title, maybe a playoff loss, but 97.5 for the Dodgers sounds pretty low. I love the over in the spot.
I'm with Scott. You look at this starting lineup for the Dodgers, and they mash. By the way, Scott, they still have David Price in the bullpen. So,
He might be a rotation guy now. I mean, that's another option you got.
Well, what I look at, I think either the Giants. I think the Giants are prime candidates for regression. I mean, that almost goes without saying. I think the Padres most likely step on their dicks again, and Colorado and Arizona are 2 absolutely dreadful teams. So even though the Dodgers pitching may not be as good as it has been in years past, I don't think it has to be. That's what scares me about that going under that win total. So
do they have the best lineup in the league?
What's that?
Do they have the best lineup in the league?
1 through 9, I think it has to be. Yeah,
I think it has to be too. So they excel at basically everything. So I got to take the over.
All right, so let's talk about this Padres team. 88.5 is their win total, plus 340. This is a team that absolutely shit the bed the last month and a half of the season. They were in first place like Memorial Day. They were still in first place. They were 18 over in August and yet missed the playoffs. Scott?
Forget about making the playoffs. They had a losing record.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Ended up with a losing record. Now, they obviously had some injuries, and most prominent was to Tatis for a lot of the season. Any reason to put more faith in this team? As if you look at this rotation on paper, not too bad. You've got Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Clevenger, and then right now Martinez in the 5 hole. Scott, do you like the over/under as far as the win total goes for the Padres, and do they have a shot to overtake the Dodgers?
I have to like the under. I mean, I don't even know how you could really make a case for the over. The only argument you'd have is if Tatis would play a full 162. The problem is he was on a motorcycle recently, and now he's going to be out for about a month and a half. So if you're missing your best player, a month and a half is also going to be the estimated time frame, maybe 2 months, but it could be longer. Who knows? I believe he fractured his wrist, I think that was the injury that he had.
Yep.
But the point is, if you're missing your best player, and I know Melvin's the manager now, I do think he's pretty good, so that might help, but you're missing your best player, and your team as a whole is basically the same team from last year. So, no, you got them at 88.5. They've had a losing record in 10 of the last 11 seasons. This is a very, very, let's just say, underwhelming franchise for the last decade and change. I expect another underwhelming year. Will they get to 500? Maybe, but I see a ceiling of 83. This number seems way too high. I got to take the under.
Tim?
Yeah, I'll even go one further. I think there are sellers at the deadline. I have no faith in this team. They're already starting with Tatis on the DL, and that was kind of like their big, wow, we're the Padres. We have one of the best players in baseball. Well, he's not around, and they dealt with injuries all last year. I see nothing different because all their players are now a year older. They really didn't do all that much in the offseason to make themselves better. We saw what happened at the end of last year. I really have no faith in this team. Brad Snell looked awful. And then
Blake Snell was okay down the stretch, but for the first couple of months, he was pretty awful.
And then the other big guy, Musgrove, who threw the no-hitter, and that was it. There wasn't really much else that happened. They struggled. Machado, not a good season. Hosmer, not a good season. And I expect a couple of those guys to be on different teams by the end of the year. I don't expect this team to be good. And if you have a better argument for your Dodgers over wins, this is your argument saying that they could probably win 11, 12 games against this Padres team.
It seems like the acquisition during the offseason was mostly the Clevenger acquisition with the quotes around it because he barely pitched last year.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that he can give you something for that rotation. But without Tatis for about 2 months minimum, not to mention all the injuries that he usually has during the course of the season, I don't like this team at all. So I like the under.
I think 88.5 is laughably high. I think that's ridiculous. 85.5 for the Giants, plus 525 to repeat as Western Division winners. I think it's safe to say there was no more surprising team than the San Francisco Baseball Giants in last year.
That's an all-time shocker. They won, what, 108 games?
I think they were 107, I think.
Either way,
they had one more than the Dodgers.
Well, they won the playoff.
And their win total was what, like 70 and change?
78.
Like that's an all-time season performance there.
Yeah.
That is actually unachievable again.
So now they're going to try to repeat without Buster Posey. They've got Joey Bart, who is a kind of a checker or wrecker kind of guy. He's a lot of strikeouts, some questions about how he handles the pitching staff. They did keep most of their roster intact. The question is, was this just a complete one-off, Tim, or does that roster have a chance to repeat?
I think they'll be second place in the division. If I had to take a shot at a plus money to win the division, it's the Giants again, just because I'm not laying minus 200 something with the Dodgers. But I think they get over that win total, and strictly because they get to play 19 games against the Rockies and 19 games against the Diamondbacks, where I think they could win 15 games each against them or something in that nature, because I don't think that the other two teams are that good at all. And they could probably split the season series, if not win the season series against the Padres. And I think they could put up at least 8, maybe 9 wins against the Dodgers. I think they'll be competitive. Whether or not they'll win the division, that would be my shot pick, just because if I'm going to grab futures that are going to be plus monies, and the Giants would be my pick for that. But I don't think they have a shot to win the division. But I do think they win at least 86 games.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the over the win total. And if you got to take a swing on somebody, you got to take a swing on the Giants. Again, I'm not laying 2.25 just like you, Tim. That's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So that's not happening. Scott, where are you at on this team?
I'm on the over. To go through the moves, they lost Gausman, but they picked up Rodon. Now, Rodon's also had injury issues, so we'll see what happens there. Longoria's out indefinitely. I know Yastrzemski got injured in spring training the other day, so he might end up missing the opening week or so. But the Giants, with Kapler as the manager, were really, really good last year. And even if you're expecting regression, which I'm sure everybody is, 85.5 still sounds too low. The team's solid at pitching. The lineup is pretty good because they got a lot of home run guys. Maybe not 30 or more, but they got a lot of 20 guys, and they kind of add up cumulatively to generate a lot of power. I like the over. Of course, Posey hurts because even besides hitting, just from an actual game management, from a fielding catcher perspective, I'm sure he drastically helped that pitching staff. But I think they'll find a way. Kapler grew on me. I think he's a really good manager, and I think they'll find a way to win 87, 88. I see them in the wild card. So if they're going to get there, they're probably going to win 87 games.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all right there with you. All right. So history tells us that one of these next two teams will go over their win total. Colorado Rockies 68.5, Arizona Diamondbacks at 66.5. Tim, which one is it more likely to be?
I think the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
And that's strictly because I don't think the Colorado Rockies are going to have a good home season again like they did last year. They were one of the best teams at home for whatever reason, and then could not score on the road for whatever reason, and could not do any.
They were 48 and 33 at Coors Field.
Yeah, exactly. They were fantastic at Coors Field and couldn't do crap on the road. I just feel like, because you keep in mind the Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies get to play against each other, so at least that's a couple of wins. But
somebody's got to win.
Someone's got to win those games. And normally one of these teams will go on a little bit of a streak. Maybe Arizona can go on like a 6-game win streak at one point. All I know is that I will probably have Arizona and Colorado tickets when they face the Dodgers a bunch this year, just because at plus 250, 300 area.
Yeah, 250, 270 every game. Absolutely.
If the Diamondbacks or the Rockies don't get swept against them, you're making money. So that's kind of the thought process there. But I don't think either of these teams are going to be remotely close to anything.
I'll tell you, I do like the starting rotation for Arizona. I think they're going to be an underplay all season long, especially if Mad Bum is anything, if he still has anything left in the tank. But this Gallen and Kelly Weaver. As long as those guys all stay healthy, there's some talent there. So you could see you could see a lot of 3-1
there all
losses
year.
for Arizona.
Yeah. Well, you said if Gallen is behind schedule, so he's going to be out for at least a month.
Very true. Well, and you've got Taylor Widener, who was wildly inconsistent last year. Scott, what do you got here on these two teams? Because we're gonna bring it home and get Timmy out of here and make sure he gets onto his show.
Yeah, when you're mentioning which one of these teams are going over, I'm actually going Colorado. Even though they lost Story and they lost Gray, I actually didn't mind their offseason. They got Chris Bryant. They got Kalame for the bullpen. They got Chad Kuhl to be the number 5. Okay, 5th starter. They got Grishuk. They got Iglesias to help the defensive aspect, shortstop. And they're good at home. So at least they're good at something. But you pick up Chris Bryant. You buy some pieces at the free agency market. I don't mind 68.5. I think they'll get to 70. It's a low number. At least they got something in free agency to replace Story. I don't mind it. If I was picking over on one of these teams, I'd pick the over on the Rockies. Diamondbacks address the bullpen. They got Ian Kennedy. They got Melanson. The issue is they're never winning. So I like that they got an 8th inning and a 9th inning guy. But if you're always trailing after 7 innings, then what's the point? Am I missing something?
Right.
Nope.
So I'll go with Colorado if I have to pick an over from one of those two teams.
So it's like putting a spoiler and really nice wheels on your 2002 Corolla or something. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But
I mean, the Rockies won 74. I know the home record was crazy, but with acquiring Bryant and company, do I expect them to get about 7 games worse? I really don't. I think they'll finish with 70.
I'm with Tim on this one. I like Arizona at 66.5. I'll take the pitching over that wildly inconsistent Colorado Rockies team. I think they're due for regression at home. I think the team they were on the road is a lot closer to the team they actually are. So, I don't see them going 15 over at home again. They might finish with a winning record, but that's going to cost them some games right there.
I would pick Arizona if Gallen was actually healthy to start the season, but since he's not, I kind of pivoted.
Fair enough. All right, guys, and let's bring it on home. What's your I think, do we all like San Francisco there just for the value? Are they the NL version of the Seattle Mariners?
Yeah, but I think the Seattle Mariners actually have a shot to win the division.
Yeah, you really like the Mariners.
Yeah, I really like the Mariners.
Yeah, see, I just kind of took them by default, kind of the same way I took the Giants. Scott, you got the Giants here too. Is anybody else that provides any value for you?
Truth is, when it comes to value, I guess the argument would be the Dodgers, but of course they're laying money. So if you're picking any long shot, you could even go with Dodgers and Giants and just dare anybody else to beat you if you want to go for an arbitrage situation.
You could.
Because I really don't think the Padres have a shot. Yeah. So bet the Dodgers, bet the Giants, and you're probably automatically winning money.
Well, you don't think the Diamondbacks have a shot?
No offense to the maybe if they bring back like Prime Chilling and Johnson, then maybe.
Oh yeah. But that's the case, yeah.
Luis Gonzalez, from 01, maybe, but no, I don't think so. But you have any thoughts on that arbitrage play? Because it seems like it's really a 2-horse race, but Dodgers are clearly leading the way.
Why not?
Well, explain to people what you're talking about. Because you're talking about laying minus 225 on the Dodgers to win 100. Or you're talking about laying 100 to win 450 or so on somebody else, or 500.
Yeah, on the Giants. And then if one of those teams win, you make money. And if any of the other teams win, then you lose both. But
you don't necessarily make money, because if the Dodgers pay 225 to win 100, bet 100 on the other game, you push.
Well, what are the odds of the Giants?
You would want to bet a little bit more on the plus money one. You would put pretty much the same amount down on whoever. So if you're doing the minus 225 and then the plus 475, you would probably just put down $250 on each one. And if either of them win, you're profiting. Even if the Dodgers win the division, you're slightly profiting. If the Giants win, then you're in a big payday. So
you can determine how you want to break it down either way. You can guarantee profit or free roll the Giants. But if you get minus 200 and plus 500, and you think no other team has a shot, then why not take a shot at it?
Yeah, it's just determining which of the teams you think has no shot.
I mean, we did that for the AFC West. I said take the Chiefs and the Chargers. One of those teams will win the division. And you made money.
Yeah,
same idea.
Absolutely. All right. That's going to do it.
My best bet's the Dodgers over.
Tim, what's your best total?
For the AL, Mariners. For the NL, Padres under.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you on the Padres under. I think that's my favorite National League play for sure. I have a lot more faith in them to suck than to do the Giants. So, hey Tim, thanks for stopping by. We've had a lot of fun. We'll have to make it have to make it a thing. We'll have you on again as we get deeper in the baseball season. And tell folks what you got going on. Where can we find you?
Me and Nick go live every day on Earle Sports Bets, the YouTube channel, and around 10:15, 10:30 each day. We break down the NBA slate and the NHL right now. Once baseball comes along, we dig deep into that. Baseball is kind of like our big sport that we both do together. So lots of big stuff, and then game time decision Monday through Friday at 5:00.
Very good. And you can find Scott and I every day, 3 p.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Central over the Max Wagers Network doing our Back to the Window show. You can find Scott and I both doing daily videos each and every day. Check out some of his fine writing over at winnersandwhiners.com. All right, that's going to do it for baseball. That's going to do it for the show. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you checking us out. Good luck this baseball season. We're going to have some fun. I'm looking forward to it as well. So you guys have a great day. Good luck on all your plays. Scott and I will be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, in the never-ending journey to help you all head back to